There are some very interesting conversations going down in Washington, D.C. right now. And if you are one of the people that got pissed off that Joe Biden had the gall to pardon his own son, well, then you might want to buckle up because you really might not like what he might do next. But first, if you want to support independent progressive media and help me make it to 1,000 subscribers, please remember to smash that subscribe button. I'm trying to make it to 1,000 before the end of the year, and I would very much appreciate your support. Now, I've done a whole separate video on the whole Hunter Biden pardon thing, and if I had to sum up my thoughts, it would be that while I do understand that this was likely an abuse of power, I think that Donald Trump has created a world where this pardon is probably necessary as a way to protect Hunter from the incoming Trump administration. Because as most people know, Donald Trump is seeking revenge and retribution. This is not something that he has been shy about. So it doesn't seem fair that Hunter Biden be left out in the cold without any protection with such a hostile administration coming into office. And ever since that pardon was issued, there's been a whole lot of different discussions about whether this was the right or wrong thing to do. But just recently, we learned that the Biden administration is now considering wide-ranging preemptive pardons for a whole bunch of people. So let's go ahead and take a look at the types of conversation that are being had over in Washington, D.C., and then we'll go from there.
In it, you write this, quote, President Joe Biden's senior aides are conducting a vigorous internal debate over whether to issue preemptive pardons to a range of current and former public officials who could be targeted with President-elect Donald Trump's return to the White House. It's according to senior Democrats familiar with the discussions. The deliberations touch on pardoning those currently in office, elected and appointed, as well as former officials who've angered Trump and his loyalists. Those who could face exposure include such members of Congress's January 6th committee as Senator-elect Adam Schiff and former GOP Representative Liz Cheney. Also mentioned by Biden's aides for a pardon, Anthony Fauci, former head of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, who became a lightning rod for criticism from the right during the COVID-19 pandemic. The president himself, Jonathan, continues, who was intensely focused on his son's pardon, has not been brought into the broader pardon discussions yet, according to people familiar with deliberations.
So not only did Joe Biden issue a pardon for his own son, but now he's considering preemptive pardons for a whole bunch of different people that might find themselves on a Trump enemies list. And I think this is a fascinating conversation to have. We'd have to ask questions like, would these people even accept a pardon when they have done nothing wrong? You know, the problem with the MAGA worldview is they view this as revenge for what they did to Trump. But the problem with that is Donald Trump actually committed crimes. And when they point to people like Liz Cheney or Anthony Fauci or the January 6th committee, people in the MAGA universe don't have any evidence of any crimes that have been broken. There is no hint of any evidence of that. So would these people who have done nothing wrong actually want to take a pardon from Joe Biden? It's really interesting things to consider. So today, I want to take a look at a couple of the different arguments as to why these preemptive pardons might be a good thing to do. And we'll go ahead and kick things off by listening to Chuck Rocha's argument, where he just says that, you know, Dems just need to lean into this. All the norms have already been broken, so we should probably do the same. Let's go ahead and take a look.
I think so. Democrats lean into it. I promise you Donald Trump's going to pardon everybody. I made a list in the back a while ago, and I'm wearing what I call my Steve Bannon outfit. I got on so many layers because it's so cold in New York. I look like Steve Bannon. That's just one name, Steve Bannon. What about Paul Manafort, Roger Stone, Charles Kushner? If you get pardoned by him, you can become the ambassador to France, evidently, as well. Democrats, in all seriousness, I'm tired of the pearl clutching of we're better than that, we can't do all of that. If he's going to do it, let's make sure that we do it as well, because we're going to be there at the end having to make up all this other stuff.
Now, this is an argument that I've actually heard quite a bit coming from people on the left. They are getting pretty fed up that Donald Trump and MAGA Republicans are never following the rules. They're always breaking the norms. So does it really make sense for the Democrats to be holding true to their principles when the other side of the playing field is not following any of the rules? doesn't really make a whole lot of sense, and it doesn't seem like it is actually getting them anywhere. Donald Trump and the MAGA lunatics, they get to do whatever the hell they want, and Democrats are often standing there trying to play nice and play by all the rules, and it doesn't seem to get them anything. So I am very sympathetic to this argument. I am just hesitant to go down this road because it seems like a race to the bottom. And if you want to take off the gloves and start bending the rules or, breaking the norms, I think it has to be done in a very, very deliberate way, or else we're all just going to be rolling around at the bottom of the pit together, and I don't know if that's going to be good for anybody. So, I don't know. I guess it would be something that I have to think on a little bit more. Let's go ahead and move on to the second argument that I've heard, and is that we should just create a legal fund, and if Donald Trump wants to target these people, at least they'll have the resources to fight it.
Democrats and others have to stop being fearful. And one of the ways that they could do that is you could get big Democratic donors. You could get law firms, powerful law firms.
Right.
They could come to an agreement. And we've talked about the politicians, but you talk about the people in the FBI that did their jobs. You talk about people in the DOJ that did their jobs.
Right.
You talk about the people in the DOD that did their jobs. And those people are the ones that, like you said, Democratic donors, other billionaires who actually want to do something positive with their money. They team up with great law firms, strong, powerful law firms, and you actually take away the incentive to try to drain Jack Smith or try to drain some of these other people who thought they were doing their job and following the law.
So I definitely understand this argument. We can pool a whole bunch of money together, and if the Trump administration wants to go after these people, they at least have the funds to fight back. But I'm not super fond of this argument because I still think people will get harmed in the process. I am sure going through legal battles that could draw out for years upon years are going to be harmful to the person who is being targeted. So it seems maybe like a preemptive pardon could be a little bit more protection instead of trying to waste all of this money trying to fight back against these frivolous lawsuits. I don't know. It just seems like people will still be harmed by the Trump administration by being forced to go through all of these frivolous pursuits. And I don't know. It seems like a preemptive pardon might be a better way to go. And we can go ahead and move on to I think the strongest argument for a preemptive pardon, and that is pretty much that Donald Trump is promising revenge and retribution, and these people are serious. And I think this is probably the best argument when we're talking about these preemptive pardons.
But I will say this, you're talking about an unprecedented crew of people coming in. Listen, even if they don't indict you, they can investigate you into bankruptcy, torture you with FBI investigations. Kash Patel is evidently going to be our next FBI director. Is that what you want to be dealing with for the rest of your life?
President Trump during the time he was out of office?
President Trump got actually indicted by a grand jury.
They tried to bankrupt him. They raided his house. It's the same thing, Julie.
They raided his house because he had documents that he stored there. I don't think that Liz Cheney has any secret documents stored. If she does, obviously they should be raiding her house too. But look, they have already said that they're going to come after these people. And so from my perspective, I amen to everything Chuck just said. I'm tired of the pearl clutching too.
Now, I think I pretty much agree with her on this. I do think the Trump administration is going to be a hostile force towards these people, and especially when we're talking about Kash Patel being appointed as the head of the FBI, somebody who is already writing down an enemies list. I think that is a legitimate fear to have. And if Joe Biden has the ability to offer at least some protection against these frivolous pursuits, should he do it? It seems to me that if he didn't do it, and then Trump goes after these people and they don't have this protection, it's very possible that this would be something that he would regret. If he has the power to offer a little bit more protection to these folks, maybe he should do it. And, it's something that has to be weighed with this would be unprecedented. But should we leave these people out in the cold just to stand up to this norm or this principle? Or should we protect these people and do less harm to these people and give them the preemptive pardon? It's a really tough thing to consider. And I understand, kind of both sides of the argument. And I think people who are making the absolute worst argument are people like Coleman Hughes, who just says, well, you should pardon Trump too.
And look, if he really wants to be magnanimous and go down in history, here's what he should do, is he should pardon Trump's enemies and he should pardon Trump. He will go down as the great uniter that stopped the cycle of tit-for-tat prosecutions, greatest uniter since Abraham Lincoln.
Okay, I think this is just an absolutely insane argument because Donald Trump is a traitor. Yeah, he did win re-election, but that does not mean that he didn't try to overturn a free and fair election in 2020. He is a traitor to this country, and if you issue a pardon, there is no way that people in the MAGA world are going to offer up any grace to Biden or Democrats. There is no way they are going to retreat and come and unify with the rest of the country if Biden were to do something like this. It makes absolutely no sense for me to do something like this. And it would just reinforce all of the bad behavior and all of the rule breaking and all of the law breaking that Donald Trump is engaged in if you were to give him a pardon. I think that would be an absolutely terrible precedent to set. It would be much worse than issuing all of these preemptive pardons to people who are going to be on an enemies list. But issuing a pardon for Trump, I think it would be terrible. And I think you would have half of the country that would just be morally destroyed by something like that. So I definitely do not agree with Coleman Hughes, and I definitely don't think it would buy us any goodwill on the left if Biden were to do something like this. So I want to know what you guys think. I think this is definitely a fascinating conversation to have. There are a bunch of different arguments to consider. Are there some arguments that I left out that would be, would make a better are there better arguments to issuing these preemptive pardons, or did we cover the bases here? Like I said, I think the strongest one is that the second Trump administration is going to be a hostile one. They are promising revenge and retribution, and we shouldn't allow these people to suffer if we have the power to do something about it. So I will leave it there for now. If you guys got anything out of this video, please remember to smash that like button and subscribe. Maybe share it with a friend or two. I'd very much appreciate that. Like I said, I am trying to make it to 1,000 subscribers before the end of the year, and I would very much appreciate your support. If you want to see my original analysis about the Hunter Biden pardon, go ahead and watch that video on the screen now. Otherwise, I'll see you guys on the next one.